Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new episode of the South Central Louisiana State Dynasty. Today we have our senior day here today where we will be taking on the Old Dominion Monarchs, who are currently 6-5 on the season. We have much higher aspirations though than the team that we're playing against. We're going for that double-digit win season, as well as setting our seniors off right. So without a further ado, let's jump right into this ball game. Alright, so here we are at the Mud Bog, which will be the final time that our seniors will be on this home football field. Hopefully we can come out here and get a dub for the seniors that have supported this football team. Alright, so going into the coin toss, Old Dominion's going to call heads, but it's going to be tails. So that means we're actually going to kick it off and they're going to get the ball to start first. Alright, so here we are with the ball to start off first in this game, and it's going to be a throw out to the left hand side by Victor Brown, but it's going to be broken up by, it looks like, TJ Covington, forcing the 2nd and 10. However, they kind of tried to get us with this halfback screen. We did good job of pursuit, but we can't make the tackle, and it's going to turn to a 22-yard gain on the play. Next play, Victor Brown's going to drop back to pass. He's going to find Harrison up the middle for a gain of 29 yards. Gotta make your tackles if you're the Mud Dogs defense. We could have had this team off the field much earlier, but now Aaron Harrison, Victor Brown, and this Old Dominion offense are driving down this football field, potentially to get some opening drive points as Justin Little makes the catch. 2nd and goal though for the Monarchs, and Victor Brown's going to drop back one more time. He's going to throw it into the end zone, and it's broken up. Freddie Salas nearly got his hands on it, and he's a special receiver that we need to keep tabs on. Nearly 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns on the season. 3rd and goal though for the Monarchs, and they have one more chance to get into the end zone. It's actually gonna be thrown away, which means they're gonna settle for a field goal. Hang on now, they actually are not gonna go for it here, and the fullback and Cedric Campbell is gonna get into the end zone barely. But 6 points is still 6 points, as Old Dominion will take the lead. Now it's the Mud Dogs' time with the ball, and we're going to start it with a throw up the middle for Darren Joyce, who's able to get his hands on it on the curls. Gains 14 yards. Next thing you know, Stam Castillo, he's going to drop back to pass, and he had somebody up the middle, but he doesn't have enough time to get the ball off, and it's going to fall for an incompletion. However, we get right back on tack with a throw to Tim Smith, who gains 14 yards on the play once again, making it another Mud Dogs first down. Next play, Casey Bug is going to get his very first carry of the day, which is going to go for 10 yards and another first, or at least it's our first meaningful carry, I should say. Casey Bug has just been an amazing talent for this football team, as not only has he improved as a runner this season, but he has also improved with his hands. Speaking of improvements, Stan Castillo has been doing a great job of his decision making. However, he doesn't get out of bounds. He fumbles the ball, and Old Dominion is going to get the fumble and get the ball right back. Looks like the Mud Dogs are now going to be on upset alert from here on out. When you're a higher ranked team, you got to watch out for the other teams in the conference. When you're the best team on the block, everyone's going to get their best shot. Speaking of great shots, Aaron Harrison corrals a 56-yard catch. Victor Brown just has just enough time to get the ball off and gets the huge gain. 2nd and 10 for the Monarchs. Victor Brown is in the shotgun. He's going to drop back to throw it, and he's going to get the ball off to Charles Hawley, who gets lit up by Bobby Boucher, but not before gaining a few yards on the play. Speaking of gains, Charles Rich is going to get a slight gain of 3 yards on the play, which means Old Dominion will have to settle for the field goal. So now the Mud Dogs are now only up 10-0, or not, we're actually down 10-0, so we are down by multiple possessions, and that means the upset alert is on more than ever. John Espinoza, he's going to get the throw up the middle, and he's going to truck through somebody to finish off a gain of 22 yards. Next play, Stan Castillo is going to drop back. He doesn't see anybody, so he's going to check it down to Casey Bug, who gains 15 yards since nobody was checking up on him. Next thing you know, you got Stan Castillo running up the gut for a gain of 12 yards. He's on pace to have over 1,000 yards rushing, which would be an amazing achievement for the true freshman quarterback. Speaking of our rushing game, Casey Bug is feeling himself, gaining 7 yards up the gut, setting up a short 2nd and 3 deep inside Old Dominion territory. And then it will be finished off by Stan Castillo, 3-yard run. And it's going to be the first touchdown that the Mud Dogs get here today. Probably one of the easier touchdowns that he'll get today. But now the real question is, can we get a definitive stop on the Old Dominion offense? It starts with Victor Brown getting sacked, but we need to be able to be more efficient on our 2nd and 3rd down play. And the Mud Dog pass rush is starting to show up as he gets sacked twice on this drive already. But that's going to be the end of the first quarter though, and Old Dominion has a 10-7 lead. So the Mud Dogs do get the ball back to start the second quarter. And it's going to start with John Espinoza getting the throw up the middle for a gain of 16 yards. Stan Castillo is making some fantastic decisions early on in this football game. Gotta love how this kid has been playing as of late, as Stan Castillo gets a huge run. Speaking of huge runs, Casey Bug is going to get the ball once again, and he's going to take it inside the 10-yard line. 1st and goal for your South Central Louisiana State Mud Dogs. 1st and goal for the Mud Dogs, and Casey Buggy's going to run it up the gut. He gets initially stopped behind the offensive lineman, but does gain 6 yards and makes it a easy 2nd and goal for the 2-yard line that will be punched in by Casey Bug, willing to outwork the safety. And for the first time today, the South Central Louisiana Mud Dogs are going to take the lead. Sorry that I kind of butchered that. You know, it's a lot of syllables to work with. Doesn't quite roll off the tongue as some of the other football series that are on YouTube, such as the UGF Pandas or Kalispell Warhawks. But going back to the actual commentary to the game, Charles Hawley just gets a catch for another 14 yards. And looks like Victor Brown is going to throw it to the left-hand side. Quick screen over to Justin Little. Gain of 6. Victor Brown, next thing you know, is going to take a carry up the middle. He's going to keep it off the option. Nobody accounts for a quarterback that leads to an 11-yard gain. And then it's ultimately going to be finished off by Julius Pitts, the backup running back for Old Dominion. And Old Dominion has the lead right back. So an interesting back and forth game, probably a little bit more interesting than what the experts initially predicted. But the offense is starting to roll once again. So with 4 minutes left in the first half, Stan Castillo is going to throw a play action, and he doesn't find anybody open, so he throws an in-advised throw, and that's going to be the 2nd turnover for your Mud Dogs. Gotta clean up the decisions, you know. Freshman, man, he can do some amazing stuff, and Joe Thompson lands on the ball. And that's going to be the first turnover for Old Dominion. So that interception is actually not going to kill us. And we start to have momentum fall to our side as Casey Bug gains a massive gain of 30 yards. Few minutes left in the first half. It's going to be an option play for Stan Castillo. Team focuses in on the running back, which means Stan Castillo is free to run on this defense. He already has 60 yards rushing off of 6 carries. But don't forget about his arm, though, as he's capable of making some good decisions with his arm as well. Gets it to Ryan Wilson for 9 yards. And then on the following 1st and 10, we're going to rock and roll with the wide receiver motion option. This time, team focuses in on Stan Castillo. Pitches it to Tim Smith, and he gains 7. 3rd and inches for the Mud Dogs, though, inside the 5. And Carl Wright is going to get the call and get the easy touchdown. We are up 21-17. And what makes it even better is that our team forces a 3-and-out on the very next drive. So about 1:30 left, we have an opportunity to make this a 2-possession gain. Speaking of gains, we're not going to get one here as the defender makes a really good play on the ball. But we're going to go right back to the slants because Coach Klein sees something that he really likes. And Ryan Wilson is able to burn the defender, is able to zip into the end zone for a really nice touchdown grab. Ryan Wilson doing a really nice job with the yards after catch, as no defender was able to catch him once he got his hands on the ball. So now with the 2-possession lead, Old Dominion now has the ball right back. About 1:20 left in this first half. See if they can make anything happen here with respects to this halftime coming right up. 1st and 10 for Old Dominion. Victor Brown again in the shotgun. He doesn't have enough time to get the ball off though, and they're forced to take a timeout following the sack. 2nd and 18. Victor Brown's going to drop back once again. This time he has just enough time, but the Mud Dogs keep it ahead of him, and they just get back to about the original line of scrimmage before the sack. But this 3rd and 12, though, Victor Brown's going to chuck it deep to the left-hand side, and Joe Thompson nearly picks it off. Mud Dogs are going to have the ball right back with about 30 seconds left. Starting off, TJ Wood gets the ball up the middle, 23-yard gain on the play, and then they're going to move into their own no-huddle to try to get points on the board before this thing is all said and done. Darren Joyce going to get the next catch for 8 yards before it turns into a timeout and sets up this 2nd and 2. Stan Castillo throws it on the money for Ryan Wilson, but he drops it and is instantly picked off by the defender. Unfortunately, Marquise Johnson just happens to be there when Ryan Wilson drops the pass and is able to execute off the deflection. So the Mud Dogs are going to be up 28-17, but it's definitely deeply unfortunate because this game could be a lot wider, could be blowing these guys out. Good news is that we get the ball to start the second half, and it's going to start with a kick for Mike Bullock, who's going to return it past the initial defenders. He only has one more man to beat, and he's looking at the green grass, but he is tripped up at the Old Dominion 30-yard line. Fantastic return, though, for Mike Bullock, giving us a really nice spark to work with. And we have some really nice field position to work off of as Casey Bugg makes that catch for 7 yards. 3rd and 5, though, for the Mud Dogs, and they're in danger of not getting the first down and getting the 3 and out, but Casey Bugg's going to power his way to the first down marker, and the drive is still going to continue. However, next play, Stan Castillo is going to drop back to pass, and it's going to be, looks like just a short gain at first. However, it looks like it's a face mask penalty on the Monarchs, which is going to move the football inside the 10-yard line, setting up a 1st and goal for your South Central Louisiana State Mud Dogs. And then on the next play, Stan Castillo is going to throw it to Tim Smith, who beats his defender for an easy 7-yard touchdown. Mud Dogs are starting to run away with it here, leading 35-17 with just a minute and a half in the 3rd quarter. So now the Monarchs really need to respond here. Otherwise, this game is going to fall apart for the Old Dominion Monarchs completely. However, Aaron Harrison and company is not going to give up so easily, as he just corrals the catch for 14 yards. Next play, though, is a beautiful throw for Victor Brown, actually. Gets a J.D. Vincent around 4 different defenders. It ends up being a gain of 25 yards, and just like that, the Mud Dogs are in Mud Dog territory, even though the next play is broken up by Boucher. And then 2nd and 10, ball is thrown to Tyree Pickens, and is able to pick off the ball. And that's going to be the 2nd interception that Victor Brown throws today. And just like that, Tyree Pickens stops a promising drive for the Monarchs. Gives us the ball right back. Ensuing play, getting the ball right back. We're going to throw it off to Ryan Wilson, who beats his man off the curl route once again. Gain of 15 yards. And the next thing you know, don't see anybody open. Creates time with his feet, and Darren Joyce gets wide open for a gain of 22 yards. Wait for Stan Castillo to use his legs to build more time outside of the pocket and able to complete a pass, able to keep this drive going much more effectively. Speaking of effectiveness, though, Stan Castillo is going to run it up for 6 yards, And then we're going to go into the play action pass. Throw it to Nate Colvin. That's a name that we haven't called in a while, but he's able to get his hands on for another easy touchdown. So now what was a winnable game for Old Dominion now turns what the experts were predicting all along. Now has potential for the backups to come in, which would be really nice so that we can get as many of the seniors on this football team out on the field as we can to pay homage to the hard work that they put into building the program. However, Monarchs are going to try to spoil that as Dan Johnson burns the defense for a tune of 44 yards, and now they are inside the red zone. Speaking of the red zone, though, Victor Brown is going to throw it to the tight end, who gets a short gain, but it looks like Jason Washington doesn't get back on time, and it's going to be a 5-yard penalty. 1st and 5 for the Monarchs inside the 10-yard line. So a couple of plays later, it's now 3rd and 4, and the Monarchs barely get the first down, throws it in a tight window, but Aaron Harrison is able to get his hands on it regardless. And then the Monarchs are going to finish off with a Julius Pitt touchdown, which makes it looks like it's still a 3-possession game. So definitely sucks to see our man get into the end zone off the huge pass for 44 yards, but gives more time for our offensive starters to put up bigger numbers nonetheless. Speaking of numbers, Casey Bug gained 6 more yards on the ground. He already has 114 yards and a touchdown to his name. Just continuing to pad his stats, but another stat that we don't want to see is Stan Castillo throws nearly another interception. Thankfully, it's deflected though, and the drive will still keep going nonetheless, as Ryan Wilson gets another first down. First down, Stan Castillo dropping back, and he makes another ill-advised throw. It's the second interception that it's the third, It's the third interception that this man has thrown today. So now Old Dominion now has the ball, and Joe Thompson nearly gets the ball right back. That would have been a house call if they actually held on to it, but it's going to fall harmlessly to the ground nonetheless. Alright, so going into the end of the third quarter, the Mud Dogs still have a 42-24 lead. It's going to be interesting to see if the backups come in. But, if not, should be able to still get the win nonetheless, as Old Dominion goes for it right out of the fourth quarter, and they're not going to get the first down, so the Mud Dogs will have the ball right back. First play out of the nice turnover for the defense. Casey Bug is going to get the carry, which will go to a tune of 6 yards. And then quarterback is going to keep it here as Stan Castillo rips another 10-yard run. Running attack is just tearing apart this defense wide open. But the passing game, however, is not been that successful as John Dukes nearly gets a second interception. Another ill-advised throw. Just Stan Castillo is just not really taking the team for granted. But Darren Joyce is going to get another huge touchdown. Darren Joyce with a massive touchdown run off of the catch. Nice yards after catch as Stan Castillo throws it on the money for Darren Joyce, and nobody on the Monarchs secondary was able to catch him in time, which makes it a 49-24 game. So hopefully here we can get a stop and then get another touchdown here so we can get the backups going. However, Justin Whittle and the Old Dominion offense is simply not going to give up, despite the fact that this game is very much over at this point. I mean, let's be real here. As Dan Johnson gains 10 yards there on the play. And then the running looks like the Mud Dogs are going to be forced to deal with this no huddle once again, as that is a calling card for the Monarchs. And it's going to be a throw up the middle here for Marcus Fallon. Gain of 5 yards there on the play, and it's going to be 4th down. However, it looks like the kicker is just slightly out of field goal range, and it's going to be a throw deep, and the 4th down gamble is going to work as Justin Little was able to outwork Tyree Pickens for the touchdown. Guess my controller wasn't feeling the intercept animation because I was pressing triangle, and of course it didn't do anything. Definitely unfortunate though, because I mean, that's not Tyree Pickens' fault. That's more on EA, since, you know, everybody likes to blame EA when something goes wrong in an EA video game. So, you know, gotta join in on that wave, of course. 1st and 10, though, for the Mud Dogs, and about 4 minutes left. Stan Castillo is going to take another carry up the middle. Rushing attack has been fantastic. You've seen it on screen. We have over 200 yards rushing today. So a really fantastic job of running the ball as Tim Smith carries for 13 yards off of the quick slant. And then another drive is going to be finished off by Casey Bug. So he's able to cut in and out for a 4-yard gain that leads to another touchdown. Mud Dogs are going to be up 56-24 following this extra point. However, you best believe that the Mud Dogs are going to do not the Mud Dogs, but the Monarchs are going to do everything that they can to at least make the score look a little bit more respectable when the box score comes out following this dismantling of the Monarchs, as they get an easy touchdown throw up the middle. Victor Brown just throws it right on the dot. And then we actually were held out to a free and out on the following possession, but we believe in our kicker, Derek Wallace. However, he misses it right. So we give the Monarchs another opportunity to actually get a little bit more points on the board when it's all said and done. 2nd and 3 for the Monarchs, and it's going to be a wide receiver screen that's going to go barely for a first down, as Justin Little is able to get the ball quickly and bounce around for a gain of 6. And then tight end, it looks like Marcus Fountain gains 9 more yards. That goes right up to the first down marker. However, they have to take a timeout. Off the timeout, looks like receiver Derek Novak, name that I have not called very much at all because it's his first catch. He gains 19 yards and then sets up another throw up the middle to J.D. Finson, who is just stopped inside right before the first down marker, which will keep the clock running. And then with 1 second left, Derek Novak is stopped at the 1-yard line. So Old Dominion is going to get one more play here. And of course, the Monarchs are barely going to get into the end zone with a 1-yard touchdown run with Charles Rich. And then to top things off, they try to go for the 2-point conversion, but Tyree Pickens is all over it. And that is what you get for trying to run up the score when the ball game has already been all said and done. Tyree Pickens is going to take it to the house, and it's going to be a 2-point conversion. And so just like that, the Mud Dogs are going to end the game on a high note with a 58-44 win. Definitely a barn burner here at the Mud Bog, and will definitely be a senior day to remember with all the points that were scored in this football game. So going over the stats for today's game, Stan Castillo definitely had that gunslinger mentality that Brett Favre had back in the day. So he was 22 for 30 with 344 yards passing. He had 4 touchdown passes, but he also had 3 picks. One of them wasn't his fault, but there was definitely a couple of interceptions that were based off of bad decisions that Stan Castillo made out here on the football field. Got the win, but definitely need to clean that up, though, in the future. Our rushing attack was so godly, though. We had 4 rushing touchdowns total. 3 of them came from Casey Bug and Stan Castillo. One of them also came from Carl Wright, who kind of vultured a touchdown from Casey Bug. But, you know, it's nice to see the senior get in the touchdown on the senior day nonetheless. As for our receivers, both Ryan Wilson and Darren Joyce tied for 5 catches total, leading the team out here today in terms of our receivers. Ryan Wilson, Darren Joyce also had a passing touchdown from Stan Castillo. Tim Smith and Nate Colvin also had touchdown receptions to their name as well. Finally, the award of both the Bednarik and the Linebacker of the Year award asserted himself today. He had 12 total tackles, which led the football team out here today. Was definitely an awesome performance by a man that deserved both of those awards, and rightfully so. We had 3 sacks total today. Ben Miller, Doug Carrington, and the strong safety in James Joyce They all had 1 sack to their name. And then Tyree Pickens had the sole interception today. However, he did have a second pick at the very end of the game that was a 2-point conversion. So even though that didn't count, I want to talk about that because that led to 2 points for our football team, which is definitely nice to see that. Bobby Boucher also forced a fumble out there on the full field, which was recovered by Joe Thomas. Alright, so here we are at the bowl projection screen. Time to look at where we're going to go. And it looks like we're projected to go to the New Orleans Bowl, going up against the Florida International Panthers, who are only 7-5 on the season. So they're not having too special of a season, but it's only a projection. So we're going to go into this simulation and see where we're actually going to go and who we are going to play in our bowl season. So I'll come back and talk to you guys when we get to that screen. Alright, so before we get into the big swing of things, Henry Klein, our head coach, is now level 13. Probably going to use that towards recruiting as we continue to build a solid foundation for our South Central Louisiana State football team. Dante Fagan did win the Heisman this year for Ohio State. Unfortunately, we didn't have anybody from South Central Louisiana State. We just need to play better throughout the course of the season. Maybe we need to move up to a bigger conference. Let me know in the description what we need to do to get a Heisman winner. But we will indeed be playing in the New Orleans Bowl, but we will be playing against Louisiana Tech Bulldogs in the RL Characters New Orleans Bowl. So it's going to be a bowl game between 2 different kinds of dogs. We got the Mud Dogs, they got Bulldogs, but shout out to Bobby Boucher winning the Chuck Bernardic Award for Best Defensive Player in the country for his amazing performance throughout the season. And then Bobby Boucher also wins Linebacker of the Year, so he was recognized as the best defensive player in the country. And then of course he was also recognized as the best linebacker in the country, so we're extremely proud of him. Henry Klein was also named Coach of the Year throughout the NCAA for his amazing performance, having a Sunbelt team that, you know, had some pieces but maybe not expected to take the jump that they did, but we end up going 10-2. Definitely real encouraging to see. Alright, so next week we will be playing up against the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs for our final game of the season and for our very first bowl game in school history. So real excited about that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this channel. Make sure you leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you're brand new, as well as that would help me out tremendously. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. I hope you take care. Peace.